Hey guys, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss Love, Wedding, Repeat, brand new Netflix original film, comedy that it is, written by Dean Craig. Sam Claflin is in this, Olivia Munn is in this, many other people are in this. Oh, Dean Craig directed this as well? Dean Craig, okay. We're going to discuss Dean Craig because he is so underrated and he is incredible. He wrote A Few Good Men, he wrote A Few Less Men, he wrote Death at a Funeral, the British version, and he also wrote Death at a Funeral, the American version of the same exact movie, and Peter Dinklage played the same exact character in both movies. Incredible. This film, Love, Wedding, Repeat, is very Dean Craigy because you're watching it and you're like, all right, this reminds me of A Few Good Men, and I was like, at one point, I'm gonna say like quarter in, I was like, this is straight in the same universe as Death at a Funeral. So I looked it up, and lo and behold, Dean Craig wrote and directed this film, and he wrote all of the films that I just mentioned. Now, Death at a Funeral you can find really anywhere, the American and the British version. A Few Good Men, starring Rebel Wilson, Xavier, I forget his last name, Olivia Newton-John is in that movie. An incredible cast of people are in this film, and it is just so perfect taking place in Australia. This film, Love, Wedding, Repeat, takes place in Rome. But I don't laugh as much as I do. It depends on the film, but I laugh constantly watching a Dean Craig movie. Now, A Few Good Men and A Few Less Men, which is the sequel to A Few Good Men, was on Netflix for quite some time, but they don't have it anymore. And you can't find it anywhere. It's not on Vudu. It's on Amazon to rent, like A Few Good Men, but like you can't buy it. A Few Less Men is nowhere to be found, and Dacre Montgomery is in A Few Less Men, and everyone loves Dacre, and I want to see it again because of Dacre, but I can't see it anywhere unless I have an Australian, DVD player to play an Australian copy of the movies because they're two Australian films. Can't get it anywhere. So to have Love, Wedding, Repeat just being released, hour and 40 minutes long, absolutely hysterical. Dean is very specific with having English characters interact with other cultures. So A Few Good Men, A Few Less Men is English folk interacting with Australians. Death at a Funeral is their English version is the English families, deal, and then Peter Dinklage is an American. Then you have the American version is this large African-American family, and then James Marsden and Peter Dinklage are just the random white guys. Oh, Luke Wilson is in this as well, I think. Random white guys. Zoe Saldana is in it. Hysterical. Absolutely hysterical, that film. We've talked about it. It's perfect. So Love, Wedding, Repeat is the English table 8 at the wedding, and everybody else is Italian. It's just fun how he writes, and I don't normally like wedding movies. I hate weddings in general. What's Your Number is probably my only exception when it comes to American wedding movies. I'm sure, and obviously American Wedding, the American Pie film that it is. I'm sure there's other wedding movies I don't terribly hate, but I just don't like weddings. I've expressed this numerous times. It's the same boring shit every single time, and I don't drink, I don't like to dance, and I don't like going places where I A, don't need to be, or B, feeling obligated to go to because I'm told I need to. No. So last year I had put a proclamation that I was done. I don't give a fuck. I'm done. I am no longer going to weddings. My brother has the sole exception, and he gets one wedding out of me. That's it. If he fucks up the first marriage, that's on him. He's got pictures of me at his first wedding, and that's all he's getting. So we had a heart-to-heart Valentine's Day of 2019 about this. He laughed his ass off. He understood what I was saying. And, yeah, obviously that's how I feel now. That's how I felt for a year. We'll see if it changes. But my stance on weddings. So when you have these particular films, especially Dean Craig wedding film, because that's all he does, a lot of wedding and funeral stuff, right? He is a genius writer. And I just give myself a lot of credit, too, for the first 20 minutes of this movie. I'm like, this looks like Death at a Funeral, or this looks like A Few Good Men. And I was right. So pat myself on the back. This movie was cool because it was different. So the first 2/3 of the movie is a movie, right? who slept with who when, and who's related to who, and who missed their shot with who, and all these things, right? So then there's an ex that pops up that the bride's trying to get rid of, and the brother needs to drug with sleeping meds, so he pours a lot of drink into a champagne glass, and then these kids come about and rearrange the table 8 place settings, and then it's a matter of who gets the roofied drink. And then it turns out the maid of honor, which is really the man of honor, Brian, whatever that actor is, by the way, he's incredible. I really like him. I want to see what else he does. He did a great job. And giving a heartfelt speech at the end, I thought it was really nice. But then the last third of the movie, it showed like the different versions of what happens if when the kids came in and rearranged the place settings, who got what drink and who got the actual tainted drink, and how the rest of the day would have gone with whoever getting the tainted drink. So I thought it was really neat. Like, I liked seeing alt universes within an actual movie. I thought that was pretty clever. It wasn't a time machine movie. It wasn't a, time traveling movie. It wasn't a, long lost love kind of a thing. It was just, these are the options of how the day could have gone depending on who got the roofied drink. I thought it was so clever. So Dean, thank you very much. I'm clearly a big fan of yours if I can pick up your style of writing. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Most of the time you watch a movie, you can tell who directed it, right? Like, what a Tim Burton movie is just by the character development, the imagery, the set design, that kind of stuff, the art that goes into that. It's a Tim Burton movie. A Paul Feig movie when you see it, right? It's just the style of the directing. You don't normally notice a movie based off of the writer. And this was a first for me. I am not quite that familiar with writers' names. I could not tell you who wrote Spy, Paul Feig's 2015 Spy, one of my all-time favorite action movies. Could not tell you who wrote it. I know Paul directed it, but I couldn't tell you who wrote it. And I should know these things. I'm going to start trying to be more vigilant to knowing the other crew, aside from just directed by. Because Dean is an incredible artist. And I can tell his work without knowing very well that it's a totally different director. Dean obviously didn't direct A Few Good Men. He didn't direct A Few Less Men. He didn't direct Death at a Funeral, British Death at a Funeral, American versions. But he directed this movie. And I knew it was a Dean movie because of the way that he wrote it, because of the way the characters are interacting, because of the way the story is going very quickly, because of the dialogue. He's quick. He's got a dry sense of humor. British comedies are very in-your-face, very abrupt. There's no subtext to it. It's just, this is what it is. Deal with it. And I love it. Love it. So if you get a chance during your self-isolation, quarantining, if you're so capable of doing so, thank you. Go watch this movie right now. It's trending on Netflix. It's in the top 10, obviously, right now. Love, Wedding, Repeat. Mucho mahalo.